they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda's swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda's swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda's swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Amadaya Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Amadaya Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So I'm sorry, this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so with that all being said, let's see who's in here. Okay, DJ Big Six, Junior Thorpe, Vince I Am from the UK, Nessa G. All right, let's get into it. Poetical Wins. All right, Claudette NT Gangster. All right, Hadassah. Okay, Reggie is here, Nubia. All right, shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. I see you, We the People. Okay, Desmond, Alice. Okay, so let's get into it. Gerald. Okay, likes up everyone. I see you, Claudette. Likes up everyone. Like and share. Now, before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I see you, Nice 10 MK. Okay, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so with that all being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she also sells beard oil. Okay, and if you're not following Lisa Cabrera's channel, then you should be. Okay, so now let's get into it. Okay, so now NT Gangster 1 said, it's not Cyrus Queen, but keep digging deeper. No, honey, you keep digging deeper. Okay, because I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I tell y'all all the time, don't try to correct me when you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I have receipts. So you think I just be up here saying stuff? I have receipts. So if I said it's Cyrus, trust me, it's Cyrus. Now, if you want to entertain us, give us a few giggles this morning, beloved, you can tell us who you think it is. Okay, you can tell us who you think it is. Now, with that all being said, let's get into that first, as a matter of fact, because you all remember that I did a video back in 2020 where I told you all that it was predicted in 2015 that Trump would in fact deem himself king of Israel. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, do a flashback for that. I also did a video talking about it in November of 2024, where I showed that same clip. So we're going to go to that clip, and then I'm going to show you why it is Cyrus. Okay, sit down somewhere. Now, I want to know who you think it is. I want to know who you think it is. You mean we can all be corrected, Queen, because that's how we are. Well, of course I know that, silly. Of course I know that. We can all be corrected. You all have corrected me plenty of times. The problem I have is when people try to correct me or anyone else and don't even know what they're talking about. Okay? That's the problem. Now, if you correct someone, make sure you have the receipts or that you at the very least know what you're talking about. Okay? I'm not offended about being corrected ever. Y'all know that. I'm offended, however, when people try to correct me. Then, especially when you say something about like keep digging deeper. Honey, I'm a whole professor, okay? And I do research for fun. I told you all that plenty of times, and I just said it days ago. So with that all being said, I don't need to dig deeper because I always do the digging. Now let's get into it, okay? Sit down somewhere is all I'm saying. Okay, now let's go to this video. And by the way, like I said, I want to know who you think it is. Please put your answer in the chat. Said, because you said Cyrus with a question mark, Queen. Well, just because I said it with a question mark, don't try to gaslight me or deflect. I asked you to put in the chat, who do you think it is? Okay, because you said it wasn't Cyrus, and you told me to keep digging deeper. So that means that you know who it is. So since you know, please put it in there. You said I've said it many times, Queen. Said what many times? You haven't said it's Cyrus many times because you just told me it's not Cyrus and to keep digging deeper. You see why you don't try to correct someone when you don't know the answer yourself? But let's continue because I know what I'm talking about. Okay? I know what I'm talking about. Now, next time, bring your receipts. So just keep your mouth shut.
Publicly, this is part of a process for them. It doesn't. There's no strategic reason for it. It is symbolic for them. Trump is going to declare himself king of Israel.
Hold on, because y'all know I'm petty as hell. Hold on. Y'all know I'm petty. Now, hold on. Now we got a back and forth going. Okay, I'm here for it. Now, you said, I said it many times. Sad you did not see it, Queen. What didn't I see? Do you know that Persian mythology or just history? Don't ask me a question. We're going to get into what I know because I'm going to discuss it thoroughly. I told you I have the receipts. Now, the question I'm asking you is if it isn't Cyrus, like you just said, who is it? That's all you need to put in the chat. Who is it? Because you literally just told me I was wrong. You just said it's not Cyrus. Keep digging. So don't try to gaslight. Okay, I want the answer. Who do you think it is? Who have you said plenty of times that it was and I didn't see it? And if I'm wrong and you want to correct me, then why don't you put the answer in the chat? Or is it that you don't have the answer? And did you say that because you thought that I didn't have the answer? That's the $1 million question. No, it's not. It doesn't cost $1 million when you voluntarily, you brought this on yourself. So, like everybody in the chat is saying, answer the question. Should I drop the link and get NT Gangster up here? Said I wrote this a few minutes ago. Okay, well, I didn't see it. So just write it again. Okay, just write it again. Because we all petty up in here. We got time. Let's sit here and wait till you write it in the chat. Let's sit here and wait. Because I got time today. Because you're not going to gaslight me, boo-boo. You're not going to gaslight me or anyone else in the chat. Reggie said we petty, boo. Yes. No, bye. You all are so aggressive and petty. No, you're petty. Now you're saying bye. Get out of here and sit down somewhere, okay? Get out of here. There you go. There you go, Roderick. Roderick said people don't research, they repeat what Esau says. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Listen, all I'm gonna say is this. I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I don't know everything. I wish I did. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. And I told you all that because I read and research for fun. I've always been intellectual. Okay. I've always loved to research and I always like to find out things. I have since I was 9 years old, learned something new every day. I make it my business. If I don't do anything every day, if I don't eat, if I don't drink enough water, if I don't work out, if I don't get on this live, I'm still going to learn something every day because that's what I do. I've been doing it since I was 9 and I put that on everything. And the reason I've been doing that is since I was 9 is because I heard my mother talking to her friend about it. I used to eavesdrop on grown folks' conversations. And I heard my mother saying, well, smart people try to learn something new every day because my mother was really smart. She was always woke. And in fact, I used to get in trouble in school for repeating things that my mother simply taught us. Like, for example, that Columbus didn't discover America. Okay, like the fact that Black people were already here. All sorts of things. I wouldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag because I don't pledge an allegiance to a flag because my mother taught us different. I got kicked out of school for that. Got reinstated, but I'm just saying I got suspended. So with that all being said, I'm just telling you, you can't gaslight the queen, boo-boo. That's what you can't do. And then you try to turn it around on me, asking me questions. You don't need to ask me questions. All you need to do is give us that answer. Let me stop right there, you guys. That made me laugh. Hey, Michael. Hey, Lawando. Okay, so listen. He said at some point, you guys, Trump is going to have to... At some point, he says Trump is going to have to declare himself king of Israel. Let me continue.
Talking about in these memos over and over again. When he's going to do it, why.
Hold on, I can't hear the volume so good. I'm going to turn it up in a second, but hold on. Claudette said, the queen is a treasure trove of knowledge. Thank you, beloved. And thank you for being a member to the channel for 20 months. Okay, I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, the lovely T said, thank you for your research, queen, and sharing with us. You're welcome, honey. Like I told you, I do this for fun, honey. We all learn together, but not today. Not when somebody can't give us the answer. Like, why are you holding out? If I'm wrong, then tell me the answer. Tell me the right answer. See, if you can't tell me the right answer, then just let my answer be. Okay, let my answer be. Now, there was another one. Okay, Reggie says, reading expands your intelligence and vocabulary. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's get into it because, like I said, the man who predicted this, he was Jewish, okay, but he mysteriously died after giving this information, like I told you all back in November of 2024. Okay, so let's get into it.
Why they want him to do it, which again is symbolic. It has no strategic purpose, apparently. It is part of the process of the end game, basically, is what I'm saying. So we will see if that happens or not. It sounds ridiculous. I can't imagine him actually saying it. But maybe he will do something like that. We will look out for that in the coming months. Based on my reading of the classified documents and the memos, so much of what is going on is planned. They've given people the impression that Trump has brought chaos to politics, but it's actually opposite. It has been planned. Donald Trump's allegiance is to Israel. He's not only a Freemason, they have promised him his daughter, the sons, will enjoy very high-level ranking within the world government that they are forming, the capital which will be Jerusalem. So that is why Trump is so dedicated to following the script, while performing the way that he does. It appears to be very authentic to his followers. Everything he's done, talking about the wall to the fake news, was scripted from the beginning around 2014 and 2015. And according to some of the memos I'm reading, he loved it. They introduced all of this to him and he loved it. They told him the plan. You're going to become president. You're going to say this and this and this. He loved it. He's already a little bit of a racist. He's already predisposed to some of this rhetoric. So he loved it. He jumped on board. And they promised him great things, especially for his family, if he were to follow through on these things and simply follow their script. And he does have leeway. He has leeway to say many things that he wants to say. He has a lot of fun doing this. But he does have script writers, and there's one of the script writers, I forget his name, he's bald guy. I want to remember his name. It's important to say it. Well, he is a big part of this. He writes a lot of Trump's tweets. He crafts a lot of it. I can't remember. I'm going to kind of look him up right now. Trump's speech writer, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has a big role in all of this. He is a dedicated Zionist. He has a lot to do with a lot of this. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, if you want to find out who's really behind it, Stephen Miller is a big part of it. So that is the whole of it. I want to get this video out. I want people to hear it. I want people to know what's going on. I've had some strange things going on in my house. I've noticed black SUVs. I mentioned it before. They're still there. I still see them every once in a while. The other day, I went out to try to approach one, to confront them. Like, what are you doing here? I know you're here. And they drove off. It's like, right when I opened the door, and I look outside, I see them drive off. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just coincidence that they were leaving and they saw, I don't know. But it seemed like they were very, very prepared to get out of there. So, the next time I see them, I'm going to confront them quickly and make sure that they don't have time to get out of there before I have a chance to get down there. And at least they see me coming for them. I will try again. But I have seen them mostly at night. I open the window, I look out the window, and that is when I see them mostly. So I want to confront them. I'm tired of the harassment. I know they're watching me. I assume I'm bugged. I assume there's some way to hear what I'm saying, but I don't care anymore. I have been given the documents. I have been tasked with this duty to get the information out. I'm going to do it in any way that I can. I have given my friends copies of all of these. I have stored them in different places. I have a dead man switch in case something would happen to me. So I've done my best to prepare because I feel like this is getting very serious. And the documents they show me are terrifying. The plan that they have in place. I would expect they have this plan of gatekeeping and cracking people, but they're going to take it to a new level with Project Zephyr. They're going to take it to a new level.
Okay, so with that all being said, you all heard it here first. And here's the thing. Shout out to David Goldberg. May he rest in peace, because that information likely cost him his life, in my opinion, because he's now dead. I noticed he said there were vans and stuff, black vans outside of his residence. Okay, and then when he approached them, they would leave. And then, like I said, he died, and it was a very strange. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Now, with that all being said, I just brought that back to the forefront of your memory because it goes along with what I'm about to tell you now. So, BB's people, they view Trump as King Cyrus, also known as Cyrus the Great, okay, who was a Persian ruler. And though he was not one of Bibi's people, he wasn't a Jew, they still feel that, or history tells us that this man helped those people. Okay, and so now they feel like Trump, they compare Trump to him because Trump is helping them. Okay, but there's a very good reason Trump is doing so. And part of it is what Greenberg said before he passed away. Okay, that they have declared Trump, or Trump declared himself. Okay, he literally came out and said it in 2019. He declared himself the king of Bibi's people. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about it. I'm going to go to this information about why they think this. Okay, why they feel like he's Cyrus. Now, here's the thing. They feel like he's Cyrus, but I don't. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. We're going to get into all of it. Cyrus the Great. Trump's war on Iran, Operation Epic Fury, is absolutely and fantastically righteous, as is Israel's Roaring Lion operation. Okay, now, let me just show you this picture they have of Trump calling him Cyrus. Let's get into it. Y'all see that? Cyrus is alive. That's what it says. And see how they've merged the two flags together? Okay, I want you all to pay attention because clearly Trump has made his choice. Okay, we know where his loyalties lie, is all I'm saying. Now, and so here's what they say. When Donald Trump came to Jerusalem this past October, now mind you, this is an article from March the 2nd. Okay, so when Donald Trump came to Jerusalem this past October after a ceasefire was put into place between Bibi's people and Hamas in Gaza, I put up the largest billboards in the nation declaring King Cyrus is alive. They were reported on around the world, in Iran, and one article even asked, is he King Cyrus or is he Esther? Now, the Jewish people celebrated a miracle brought about by one person, and that's Esther, who dared to confront the spirit of Amalek. Now, the spirit of evil calling for the annihilation of Bibi's people. This is the same spirit now operating through the demon-possessed mullahs in Iran. I want you all to pay attention. This is their words, okay, who believe that they can usher in the 12th descendant of Muhammad through an apocalypse and force every person on the planet to bow to Islam. That's all a load of BS. Okay, why would they even possibly think that they can get everyone to become a Muslim? That's not ever what they thought. Now, today, both the Persian people and Bibi's people are celebrating a Purim miracle. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has ruled Iran for decades with an iron fist, is dead. His secret Saturday breakfast meeting with top officials received a wake-up call from hell. Y'all to pay attention to how they're going in. Now, among those reportedly killed are General Hussam Salami, Commander-in-Chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, General Mohammed Bakeri, Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, General Gholam Ali Rashid, Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Iranian Armed Forces, General Amir Ali Hajeda, Commander of the IRGC Aerospace Force, General Mehdi Rabbani, Department of Operations of the Armed Forces of Iran, and General Gholam Mirza Mehrabi, Deputy Director of Intelligence for the General Staff. And then they name a few more people. I'm going to skip past all of those names. Now, here's where they talk about it. They say Trump's war on the jihadists of Iran, Operation Epic Fury, is absolutely and fantastically righteous, as is Roaring Lion. That's Bibi's operation. No president has been willing to confront Iran over the deaths of U.S. citizens, not even Ronald Reagan. I was with the Marines in 1983 in Beirut when 231 of them were killed by Iran's proxy, Hezbollah. Reagan did nothing. Conservative political commentator and podcaster Tucker Carlson, responding to the Iran attack on the ground, said Trump's war is absolutely disgusting and evil, and it is. He accused Satanyahu of how do I want to say this? G, and then if you go outside, that's what he accused them of, against the people over in Gaza. Now, by invoking the biblical account of Amalek, and I remember Tucker did say that. He said that those people were basically the equivalent of Amalek in the Bible. Okay, now what he does not understand is that during every massacre, Bibi's people say the same thing. This is not a call to genocide. Okay, it is a vow to wipe out the ideology of evil. Here's my question: who gave them that right? Who gave them that right? First of all, don't the Ten Commandments mention murder? Okay, so who gave anyone the right to take out somebody else or even a whole nation of people because you deemed them as evil? Did God tell anyone to do that? I have several questions. Now, if Carson had been alive in the 1940s, he would have said the same thing in December 1941 when President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared war against Hitler. He says, I flew to Bibi's home knowing the war was coming, both to stand with the people in their time of need and to report on the war, telling the truth alongside Melissa Francis, who organized the debate between Carlson and Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Now, the war looks like a scene out of the 1995 Mel Gibson film Braveheart, with Persians crying freedom. The other people, Bibi's people, that is, their forces killed 40 top Iranian officials within the opening minute of the salvo. Today, hundreds of millions of Persians are rejoicing. Now, for those who don't know, the Iranian people are the same as the Persians, okay? So when you hear them talking about Persians, they're talking about them. So basically, King Cyrus was a Persian king. So he was their people, not Bibi's, okay? But let's continue. So anyway, they go on to say this moment also reads like a page from the book of Esther, where Mordecai, an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, cries out, "You've come to your position for such a time as this," as he confronts Haman and Amalekite and his plot to exterminate Bibi's people in the Persian Empire. Now, Carlson embraces an anti-Semitic ideology known as a replacement theology, which rejects the promises of the Bible that God made to the Bibi's people. But did God make that to their people or to my people? Because my people are used. Now, that all being said, let's go to something I found very interesting, because didn't Trump just say months ago that he was a Christian? Isn't that what he said? Trump said he was a Christian, right? And I find that all interesting. I find that all interesting. Now, with that being said, there's another video where they have Trump actually kissing the wall. Hold on. Here it is right here. And I want you all to see this because Trump's all in. Okay, please pay attention. Now I'm going to use an overlay on this because I don't have permission to use this video. Okay, here we go. I mean, to me, Trump is just so fake. He just says one thing and does another. He's kind to people who kiss his butt and berates those who don't. And then he just goes with whatever, certain people tell him to do, in my opinion. I think we've seen just about enough. Okay. So, like I told you all, Trump is absolutely all in, beloveds. Okay. He is all in. Now, with that all being said, let me tell you about Cyrus the Great. Let's get into it. Now, the Almighty God does absolutely use imperfect people to accomplish his perfect purpose on earth. Okay. That fact, it should not be up for debate, okay, amongst those of us who have a good understanding of the scripture. But no one truly believes that God is not omnipotent, omnipresent, eternal, and immutable. No one who believes that would ever question God, right? But frequently, sometimes these things intervene with the affairs of humankind, or mankind, as some people call themselves, and appoints over the children of men whomsoever the Most High chooses. Now, if God can use a dumb arse speaking person, okay, with a man's voice to rebuke the madness of a corrupt prophet in his manifest wisdom, he can use just about any one of his creations to fulfill a divine desire. Some people would say. Throughout the history of the human race, God has raised up men and women, mere earthen vessels, to carry out his will. By his divine power, the Lord has been known to transform mere mortals into mere immortals, or shall I say, near immortals. Now, with that all being said, throughout, I'm sorry, I read that already. Okay, his mighty hands have been seen at work, changing destinies of slaves and even making them kings. God used a handful of unlearned hillbillies from the backwaters of Galilee to spread the good news of salvation from Jerusalem to Judea and to the uttermost part of the earth, ushering in the dispensation of grace and the church age. Likewise, what should never be a matter of dispute among Christians is God's attitude towards sin. Now, I want you all to pay attention to this part, because this is why they may feel that Trump is Cyrus, because he has helped them, though he's not actually one of them, as Cyrus did. But at the end of the day, Trump is full of sin, and not just the regular types of things that some of us engage in, very nefarious things, okay, like the Epstein files. Okay, do y'all think that God would appoint someone like that? Okay, please pay attention. Those who claim to serve a holy God should not be at opposing sides of an argument over God's intolerance to sin and repulsion to unrighteousness. Now, the scripture is quite explicit about the attitude of God when it comes to sinfulness. And we all know, or rather, we all should know, that God absolutely hates sin. I think we could all agree on that. So in Hebrews 1 8 through 9, we read, "Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. Thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Therefore, God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows." Now, of late, a great schism has emerged within the body of Christ. There is now a great divide amongst believers regarding the question of sin and God's attitude towards sin. What God considers sin and what he expects Christians to do about it have become a topic of impassioned debate in the household of faith. What once was thought to be an immovable ancient landmark with regards to sinfulness and the righteous indignation that it should appropriately arouse have suddenly become victims in shifting sands of false equivalence and carnal relativism and sacrificial lambs of political or politics of convenience. Now, the attitude of some Christian folks to the many sins in the life of Donald J. Trump, whom these Christians, for some inexplicable reasons, have determined to be the chosen vessel of God who will restore the lost glory of Christianity first in America and then the rest of the world in the mode of the in the mode of the historical Persian king Cyrus the Great. Well, they have left many serious minded people perplexed and many a student of the Bible pondering, no less. Okay, please pay attention. Please pay attention. Now, the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil response of these Christians to Trump's resume of iniquities have caused those who believe in the inerrancy of Scripture to ask whether, when God is using a man to carry out his purpose, he overlooks, tolerates, and permits the lack of compassion and empathy, fear-mongering, and engendering of discord exhibited by such a man. The unbelieving world is asking, does being used by God grant a license for an unfettered life of gross corruption, crass nepotism, and disregard for the rule of law? People who fear the wrath of God are now wondering, is lasciviousness, boastfulness, lies, arrogance, hatred, and bigotry all given a pass in the life of a man who is claimed to be used by God? And those who are shepherds of God's flock are also being asked whether or not Christians are permitted to call out, expose, and condemn the sins committed by a man who is supposedly used by God. And this doesn't just apply to Christians, these Christian nationalists who view Trump as the same, but also to Bibi's people. By turning a blind eye on the well-cataloged chronicle of unrighteousness deeds of Donald J. Trump, folks on the religious right of the political spectrum who adore the man and who see in him a restorer of Christian virtue in the public square seem to suggest that God is perfectly pleased with the sins and the nefariousness of Donald J. Trump. Okay, please pay attention. Now, these Trump worshipers, because they're not supporters, they literally worship this man. Anytime they go out and buy t-shirts that say, we don't care if Trump is a PDF file, they worship him. Okay, so these Trump worshipers are quick to remind everyone that his rise to the office of the president of the United States, which was supposedly prophesied many years before it actually became a reality, is a supernatural phenomenon that has never been before seen in the annals of history of humankind. And as the Cyrus of our time, Trump is busy carrying out God's mandate. So whatever moral failings or character deficiencies he may have, pale in comparison to the work of the Lord that he's doing. That's what they sadly think. And these are the excuses they'll make and want us to do the same. But oh no, we'll get to the truth of it. They'll also remind you that God uses imperfect vessels such as Pharaoh, Moses, David, Nebuchadnezzar, King Cyrus. They were all imperfect vessels that God used to carry out his purpose. Therefore, they go on to say, anyone who focuses on Trump's long record of iniquity or points out how irreconcilable to biblical injunctions are Trump's behaviors, either spiritually blind, okay, they have to be either spiritually blind and ignorant of what God is doing or about to do, or willfully and deliberately trying to undermine the purpose of God on earth. To criticize Trump, these folks firmly believe is to be clueless of the mighty move of God, and to condemn his iniquities is to touch God's anointing. Now, for those who place high premium on prophetic pronunciations and give careful consideration to divine proclamations, it takes some superhuman self restraint and a constant reminder by the Holy Spirit of what the Word of God says about testing all spirits. See, that's what you have to do. You have to test the spirit, okay? Not to get sucked into the bubble of mass fake spiritual hysteria. Without the grace of God and a proper understanding of scriptures, it is pretty easy to fall for the deceptive spirits and the false prophecies that they have spawned. Because of the infallibility and the inerrancy of scripture, we know God cannot contradict himself or his word, and it is impossible for God to lie. God has magnified his word even above his name. A righteous God would not overlook unrighteousness for any reason. A holy God would take no pleasure in wickedness, and he would not tolerate the sins of the wicked. The scripture says the proud will not stand in his presence, for he hates all who do evil. We also read in scriptures that destruction awaits those who tell lies. The Lord on high detests murderers and deceivers, and that's in Psalms 5, okay, 4 through 6. So while it is true that God can use anyone to accomplish his purposes, there is no one that God uses that is not subject to his precepts. He does not grant a waiver to anyone from obeying his commands simply because he uses such a man for his purpose. God would not compromise his statute, neither would he contravene his own commands. Regardless of who you are before him, God's commandments must be obeyed by all men. Before God, all men are equal, and without exception, the soul that sinneth, it shall surely die. The Lord is an ever consistent God. He would not violate his principles because he wants to establish his purpose on earth, and he would never go out of his character to condone the sin of any man. All of the people that God has used in the past have learned this lesson the hard way. David, the man after God's heart, suffered severely for his transgression against the statute of God, or the statute of God. His family was ripped apart. Now, his own son tried to kill him, and he never fulfilled his desire to build a temple for God. When Nebuchadnezzar ran afoul of God's ordinance, he was struck by God, and he became a grass-eating animal confined to the wild. Pharaoh, his great army in all Egypt understood what it meant to fall into the hands of an angry God, for God demonstrated his wrath to the Egyptians. And mighty Moses never entered the land of promise because he trespassed against God in the presence of the children of Israel and for failing to live up to God's righteous principles. So, quite apparent is the fact that the folks on the religious right who are quick to adorn the mantle of Cyrus onto Donald Trump have not read the history and so really do not know King Cyrus. If only they knew the manner of man this Persian king was. It is highly doubtful they'd be so confident in coronating a foul-mouthed and cold-hearted, low-down, dirty, nefarious devil like Trump as the present day Cyrus. Okay, now some of these insults, I'm putting them in myself. Okay, please pay attention. Some of these things I'm saying about Trump. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. Almost 200 years before he was even born, Isaiah prophesied about this same Cyrus. In Isaiah 45, we read about how God will raise Cyrus, whom he called his anointed. He was going to subdue nations and break the stranglehold of powerful kings. God was going to bless him abundantly with great wealth. God was going to single him out for honor and honor him even though he wouldn't know God, being a pagan who worshiped the idols of Persia. And God was going to do all of this for this man who doesn't worship, for the sake of Jacob, my servant, and for my chosen one. Now, this is all in Isaiah 45:4. Now, Isaiah 45:13 states, I will raise up Cyrus in my righteousness. I will make all his ways straight. He will build my city and set my exiles free, but not for a price or reward, says the Lord Almighty. Cyrus wasn't going to release the Jews from captivity in Babylon as some kind of crafty transaction with God or with Israel. He wasn't going to allow the Jews to rebuild Jerusalem as a sort of favor for which God or they would be into his debt. It wasn't going to be an investment that promised to yield a good ROI. It was not an act of mere political expediency. He was going to do it not because he wanted to gain support or win votes in the next elections. Cyrus was going to carry out the purpose of God without hoping for any reward in return, unlike Donald J. Trump. He would have nothing to gain and everything to lose for releasing these people back to their homeland, but he would do it anyway. He would do it because God moved him to do it. It would be a selfless act from a selfless heart. Now, we all know that Trump is anything but selfless. According to ancient history, Encyclopedia Cyrus II, also known as Cyrus the Great, was a Persian king who in the 6th century led several military campaigns against the most powerful kingdoms of the time, including Media, Lydia, and Babylonia. Upon conquering these nations, he brought to an end the supremacy of the Babylonian king and united much of the Middle East under Persian hegemony, while keeping the local administration mostly intact. Now, much of what we know about the life of Cyrus before he became a king comes from the Greek author Xenophon, who in his work, the Cyropaedia, a partly fictional biography, memorialized Cyrus the Great. Now, here are a few excerpts from his book. It says, the father of Cyrus is Cambyses, king of the Persians, and his mother, the Median princess Mandane, daughter of the Median king Astyages. Growing up, Cyrus was raised according to the Persian moral and ethical system that demanded that all parents instill in their children a strong moral ethics. The system commands them to not steal and to not rob, not to break into anyone's house, not to strike a person whom they have no right to strike, not to commit adultery, not to disobey an officer, etc. And if a man transgresses any of these laws, they are punished severely. He was educated in his father's court in the principles of the rule of law, and to which rulers are themselves subject. You see, Trump feels like he doesn't have to adhere to the rules of law because he thinks that because he's the leader, he can do and say whatever he wants. He's literally said that. As president, I can do whatever I want. That's what he has absolutely said. Under his grandfather's tutelage, Cyrus learned that it is better to have less than to have more. He was a kind-hearted young man who, by showing love for others and sincere concern about their welfare, won the hearts of not only his grandfather, but the hearts of his friends' father as well. And such that whenever they desired any favor of the king, they bade their sons ask Cyrus to do it for them. As a youth, Cyrus learned self-control, justice, and gratitude. Though a prince, he submitted himself to mandatory, and I want y'all to listen to this. This is how you know Trump's not the one. As a prince, he submitted himself to mandatory military service, and he served alongside other children his age. His father, the king, did not obtain for him a military draft deferment. Cyrus did not get a bone spur medical waiver. Okay, please pay attention. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? I said he did not get a bone spur medical waiver. Okay, now with that all being said, let me tell you who the author of this is. This was written February the 23rd of 2020 by Akin Ojumu. Clearly, that's an African name. Okay, so with that all being said, Trump is not anointed by God. And if I had to venture to guess, I would say that he's been chosen by Satan to carry out nefarious practices. I would say even further, in my opinion, that he has likely been given the spirits of the Antichrist. Now, that's just what I think, and I've told you all that a myriad of times. Okay, I've told you that a myriad of times. Now, the last thing he says, it is quite clear that the Trump Cyrus narrative is nothing but an ambient the good folks of the religious right take as a remedy for insomnia. Confronted with the moral fickleness and ethical fecklessness of Donald J. Trump, they struggle to find a way to rationalize their unholy alliance with him. And as someone so aptly described it, the Trump is Cyrus Kool-Aid, okay? And that is in the theopolitical version of money laundering. It is taking scripture to clean a dirty politician. It is the whitewashing of the sepulcher that is full of the rotten, dried up bones of the dead. Do y'all hear it? To all those who have brought into the Trump is Cyrus deception, here's the answer. We know Cyrus the Great. Donald Trump doesn't even come close. King Cyrus was a good and honorable man. His people loved him for his compassion and generosity, and his enemies revered him for his larger than life personality, and because he was so kind, loving, and gentle and benevolent. Even though he did not know Yahweh as God, the life and reign of Cyrus exemplified everything Christ taught and demands of us. To compare him with Trump is to dishonor the memory of an exceptional human being. Okay? And if you want the sources that this came from, the Holy Bible, of course, Ancient History Encyclopedia, Cyrus the Great, National Geographic, Who Was Cyrus the Great, Encyclopedia Britannica, Cyrus the Great, King of Persia, okay? And that would be also the Cyropedia by Xenophon, okay? So here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I was hoping for when NT Gangsta said, no, it's not Cyrus Queen, dig deeper. Why I wanted him to give his answer is because I wanted to know if he knew that these people are just saying this. This is their belief only because they have to justify it in their minds. Because at the end of the day, how can you justify praising someone so low down and nefarious? You see, you have to make it something religious. You have to make it as though, oh, this is prophesied. This is who he is. We have to look past his devilish works. Okay? I wanted to know what he had to say about that. Okay? Nice Intimate Case said, is it wrong to question religion? I don't think it's wrong to question anything. I don't think it's wrong to question anything. Specifically things that are man-made. Okay, like religion. So thank you for your question, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, Bayonka says, Antichrist entity spirit works through deception and occult power, initiating a mark representing total allegiance, ultimately intending to shatter the spiritual and physical laws established by God. Very well said, beloved, and I absolutely agree. Okay, I absolutely agree. And that's why I tell you all, this Antichrist, this is a spirit. Okay, this is a spirit that some people have upon them. And those people, in my opinion, are none other than Donald Trump, his nephew, Jared Kushner, okay, and of course, Satanyahu. Now, with that all being said, let's move on and move forward because Trump's the devil himself, as far as I'm concerned. He's far from Cyrus the Great. Okay, now let's get into what's been going on here. Okay, and let me tell y'all something. Do you all remember once in the chat once in the chat, if you all remember, Professor Mohammed Marandi. Okay, I showed a video clip of him days ago. Just Anticipate said, don't forget Epstein. Epstein wasn't the Antichrist. He was just a nefarious person, beloved. Okay, so do you all remember me showing you a video of Professor Mohammed Marandi? I have to show you all how he just really went in on the US, and he also went in on this reporter. Okay, it was so sad to watch for Newsmax. Okay, I'm going to show you all the clip. But before I do, let's go to this information about Russia. And this is a report from New York Post. They say CIA boss confirms Iran pursuing intel against U.S. from Russia and China. And then they say, don't take Vladimir Putin at his word. Well, here's the thing. The only one who shouldn't take Vladimir Putin at his word, is Trump. Putin doesn't care about him, doesn't respect him, and only uses him to get what he wants. Period. Okay, period. Now, Iran has been pursuing damaging intelligence against the U.S. from Iran and China to undermine Operation Epic Fury attacks. This is according to CIA Director John Ratcliffe. He confirmed this on Wednesday. I mean, well, shouldn't that be what they're doing? Why wouldn't they? They're literally at war. Okay, they say that like it's a bad thing. Now, news reports have alleged that the Russians have been feeding intelligence, including satellite imagery and other data on the position of U.S. assets to help Iran target American forces in the Middle East. Moscow has denied those accusations both publicly and privately to Washington, with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff suggesting that we can take them at their word. So no, I don't take Vladimir Putin at his word. This is what Radcliffe told Senator Jack Reed when asked about Witkoff's suggestion. The Iranians are requesting intelligence assistance from Russia, from China, and from others. This is what he said, from other adversaries of the United States. And whether or not those countries are is something we can talk about in the classified portion. This is what Radcliffe told the Senate Intelligence Committee on Wednesday during the public hearing. Now, senators on the panel peppered the top intelligence honchos about the 2020 annual threat assessment. After the public hearing, lawmakers on the committee attended a classified one. Now, concerns about the ongoing wars with Iran and Ukraine dominated Wednesday's hearing on global threats. Similar to Radcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard declined to publicly confirm that Russia has, in fact, given sensitive intelligence to Iran to help it target American assets. Saying if there is that sharing going on, that would be an answer that would be appropriate for a closed session. This is what Tulsi Gabbard said during an earlier exchange with Senator Angus King. She also noted that any support that Iran may be receiving is not inhibiting their operational effects. On Wednesday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov ripped into a Wall Street Journal report about Russia feeding satellite imagery and better drone technology to Iran as fake news. Now, given the denials from Russia, Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, bemoaned Gabbard's and Ratcliffe's decision not to publicly confirm reporting on it. Said, I am very disappointed. This is the one time of the year the public gets to hear from you guys in this kind of setting. We have repeated public reporting, including a major story in the Wall Street Journal today about China and Russia assisting Iran, which seems obvious and evident. And none of you would confirm that publicly. Chairman Tom Cotton chided in, saying that media is not a classification authority, but sharing intelligence with Iran to undermine the U.S. certainly sounds like something Russia and China would do. President Trump has downplayed fears of Russia helping Iran, noting that the U.S. has done it to them and chiding that they're not doing a very good job because Iran is not doing too well. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has publicly claimed that Russia and China have always helped us, but declined to give details in the middle of the war. Okay, now here's the thing. Do you really think that Russia is going to tell Trump what they're doing for or with Iran, if they're doing anything at all? Well, of course not. I don't think they would, nor do I think they should. Okay? But I want you all to think about Trump says that he doesn't need any help. He says Iran is just about done for. There's hardly anyone else to keep fighting. Isn't that what he said? But so why did he keep asking for help? The help that he asked for, he seems to be getting. Okay, because in a joint statement from the leaders of the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Japan, okay, and even Canada on the Strait of Hormuz. Let's talk about it because they issued a statement. Now, remember, Japan was at the White House yesterday, wasn't it? And they were talking to Trump yesterday or the day before. But now all of these allies have issued a joint statement. And here's what they have to say. They said, we condemn in the strongest terms recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. Now, I find that interesting. They condemn with the strongest the Iran attacks. What about the U.S. and BB? I find it interesting, right? They said, we express our deep concern about the escalating conflict. We call on Iran to cease immediately its threats, laying of mines, drones, and missile attacks, and other attempts to block the strait to commercial shipping, and to comply with UN Security Council Resolution 2817. Freedom of navigation is a fundamental principle of international law, including under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The effects of Iran's actions will be felt by people in all parts of the world, especially the most vulnerable. Yeah, this is true, and it's very unfortunate, but they need to point their angst and disdain at Trump and Bibi. Consistent with UNSC Resolution 2817, we emphasize that such interference with international shipping and the disruption of global energy supply chains constitute a threat to international peace and security. Now, in this regard, we call for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including gas and oil installations. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. We welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory planning. We welcome the International Energy Agency decision to authorize a coordinated release of strategic petroleum reserves. We will take other steps to stabilize energy markets, including working with certain producing nations to increase output. We will also work to provide support for the most affected nations, including through the United Nations and the IFIs. Maritime security and freedom of navigation benefit all countries. We call on all states to respect international law and uphold the fundamental principles of international prosperity and security. Now, do you all think that's going to help? Do you all think that's going to help? Because here's the thing. They have basically agreed to help Trump, but they also want something from him. Hold on, beloveds. Now, what they want him to do is going to put him in a pickle, if you ask me. They basically want him to get Putin and them to back off of Ukraine. I don't know how Trump's going to do that because we've seen him try to persuade Putin to do things before, like try to get him to back off or whatever, but he never does. And I don't think he ever will. Okay. So, and also, let's not forget, the NATO allies, didn't they supply weapons to Ukraine? Isn't that what they did? So, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that they would want him to get Russia to back off. Okay. Now they say sanction warnings. As part of this, Trump warned Russia of severe sanctions, including a potential 100% tariff on Russian oil if peace was not negotiated within 50 days. Now that was back in July of 2025. So did we have peace in 50 days between Russia and Ukraine? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. So I find it all interesting. And here's the thing, like I said, Trump sat there and talked all that trash about he didn't need anybody and he didn't even need NATO and this, that, and the third, but still begging for help, mind you. Okay, so now is he going to give them what they want? Is he going to go tell Putin to leave Ukraine alone? How's that going to work out for him? Because, you know, the word on the street is that BB has some footage on Trump, and also Putin has some footage on Trump. Now, this is all alleged. I don't know if either of the two have footage on Trump, but that has been an allegation. Okay, that has definitely been said. All right, so please pay attention. Now, with that being said, let's go to this footage because earlier this morning, about an hour or so ago, Iran was live. Hear what? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Act militarily. So it was not Iran, but the US who betrayed diplomacy. They betrayed negotiations. When at the middle of negotiations with us, they gave green light to Israelis, if not instructed them to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. I think they have proved that they are not men of diplomacy, and they only understand the language of threat and force. And this is very unfortunate. The United States showed that they have no respect to United Nations Charter. They have no respect to international law. They have no respect to any international law regarding, managing the world and facing challenges of the world. There is no red line that they have not crossed. And the last one, and the most dangerous one, was happened only last night, when they crossed a very big red line by attacking nuclear facilities. I don't know how much room is left for diplomacy. We are now calculating the damages. And as I said, the damages are not only for our nuclear facilities, the damages are for the United Nations Charter. It was not only Iran's facilities which was bombed, it was also the United Nations Charter. It was also Non-Proliferation Regime and NPT, which was bombed last night by Americans. And it was the rule of law and international law which was bombed. So now we have to see how much room is left for diplomacy, and we will decide.
I'd like to hand over to TRT World.
Mr. Minister, the US President Donald Trump warned that Iran must now make peace, otherwise the future attacks, he says, would be far greater and much easier. So how is Tehran responding to that threats from Washington? Thank you.
I think it's not up to Iran to respond to that. The whole international community should respond of such a clear threat against the United Nations Charter. Iran has done nothing wrong. We do not understand why Iran should be attacked for a false accusation that Iran is seeking nuclear weapons. It's now more than 20 years that we are trying to prove that our peaceful nuclear program is in fact peaceful and would remain peaceful. We negotiated for a long time with the so-called P5+1, and we came to a deal which the whole world celebrated as an achievement of diplomacy. And then it was the US who withdrew from that deal and reimposed their sanctions and restarted their threats. Again, we were negotiating with the same administration. Then all of a sudden they decided to attack us, first by Israelis, then by themselves. And now they are threatening us for more attacks. So it's not up to Iran, but it's up to international community to condemn this, to prevent this. Otherwise, there would be nothing left for the international law, for the security at the world level. The Security Council should play its role, should play its responsibility to condemn and prevent these kind of threats. We will certainly defend our interest. We will certainly defend our territorial integrity, our sovereignty, and our people. And I'm so glad that our people are now fully understand what injustice they are doing against the Iranian people. They are united and in solidarity with the government, and they stand firm against any aggression.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there, beloveds. Listen, here's the thing. It's just so amazing to me how they continuously, some of these countries, try to blame Iran. Okay, that just lets you know how much power some countries have. And I'm not talking about the ones accusing Iran. I'm talking about the ones that they're accusing them at the behest of. Okay, they can't see plain as day, so they want to hold Iran accountable for their actions, but not the people who started it, which is Bibi and Trump. Then I find that interesting. Okay, I find that interesting. All right. Now, with that all being said, let's continue because other people have a lot to say. And here's the thing. You know, Trump has sat here and done all of this dirt. He's talked about these people like dogs. He's made all sorts of threats. He's just talked so much trash. Okay, so much trash. I don't see how anyone could want to side with him. But clearly, the United States has some things that they need. Okay? Clearly. Now, with that all being said, let's go to Senator Rosen, who says that Trump's done nothing for the U.S. And I have to agree. Said he hasn't done a damn thing to help Americans and calls it a ridiculous war in Iran. Ooh, honey, they went in. All right, they went in, and I love to hear it. Let's get into it. Now we're getting to the good part.
First of all, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I want to say this. Who pays their bills off the Dow? Nobody pays their bills off the Dow. You pay your bills off the paycheck. You know how much comes in and how much goes out. And this ridiculous war that Donald Trump, been in classified briefings, armed services, foreign relations. We can't say what they did in there, which is another issue, but they have not shown an imminent threat to enter this war. And now food is up, electricity is up, gas is up, and the gas prices are going to cause food to go up more and more. And he hasn't done a damn thing to help anybody at the kitchen table. No one pays their bills off the Dow. They pay their bills off their paycheck. And when the paycheck doesn't go as far as it did before, or when you're losing your job to AI or whatever it is, why should the American people have to say they're going to have to take a little pain? Where's the pain that Donald Trump feels? None.
You know, listen to former Senator, current Vice President J.D. Vance, and then an aspiring Senate member of the United States Senate candidate, Michelle Tafoya, talking about gas prices.
Look, gas prices are up, and we know they're up, and we know that people are hurting because of it, and we're doing.
Hold on. Let me just tell you all this real quick. So JD Vance, he's in Michigan. Okay, he's in Michigan yesterday giving his speech, and there was like a handful of people there. Okay, there was just a handful of people there. It just goes to show how Trump's just, he's like Trump's do boy. Okay, he's like the water boy or something. Please pay attention. They never involved this idiot in anything significant. Have y'all noticed that?
Everything that we can to ensure that they stay lower. I will say, the president said this, and I certainly agree with it. This is a temporary blip.
Maybe you take one less trip to Starbucks, and so that gas goes a little further until this thing is over and these gas prices come back down again. Let's just try to be patriots about this.
I don't know if a lot of folks in this country have taken a trip to Starbucks this week, but I know people that still have to get their children to school. I know people that still have to get to work. And so I'm just wondering if this resonates with people in Nevada.
It's kind of like let them eat cake. You'll have one less Starbucks. When people can't pay their bills, when people can't fill up their tank, they're in a billionaire bubble over there. And how do people in Nevada feel? They're losing their health care. Tourism is down because of the tariffs up, prices up, and nothing has been done in this administration to address affordability. Take more pain. How much more can people take? And so it's absolutely ridiculous that they're going on and on, no justification, no imminent threat, $1 billion a day. You know how many hungry kids that could feed? You know how many folks who are sick that could help? They cancel pediatric cancer research, RFK Jr. Maybe they could fund some of that back. And maybe they could return that $220 million that Kristi Noem spent
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Her segment of what she wants.
Did she just say that RFK Jr. stopped the funding for pediatric cancer? Is that what she just said? Somebody let me know. I was multitasking. Did she just say that RFK Jr. stopped the funding for pediatric cancer? That's what she said. Oh, wow. That's low down and damn dirty. Y'all know that's my favorite charity to contribute to, St. Jude's. For those little children with cancer, I send them money like every month. Okay? That's a darn shame. That is so sad. But let's continue.
Wants to be in Yellowstone, I think, $220 million on that commercial, her ad campaign. And so maybe they need to return that because I know there are people hurting, not just in Nevada, across this country, and that money could be spent right here, right now, for good.
So, Senator, I've asked other Democratic senators what happens when all of a sudden Republicans need to decide if they want to sign their name to legislation allowing a larger budget for this war. Other Democratic senators have contended this is already Republicans' war. They have already signed off on Donald Trump and his mission here. I do think it is fundamentally different when they decide to vote in favor of a supplemental. What are you hearing for your Republican colleagues about where they are on sending more money to a war that does not have a specific end goal or a specific sense of what victory looks like?
Well, I'm afraid that they're too afraid of the president. They are so ready to bend and take a knee for whatever the president says, that they will vote to send us down the slippery slope of war in the Middle East, again, with no proof of imminent threat. And they haven't come out in the light of day from those classified hearings to even let us talk about it. Haven't come to us for a supplemental, haven't talked to us. Last time I checked, Donald Trump isn't a king. He just doesn't say, I get to declare war, I'm in, I'm out, and just leave the rubble behind. We have men and women in uniform there, 13 have already lost their lives. Folks injured, and there'll be injuries that you can see, and soldiers carry those injuries that you can't see for the rest of their lives. So there's a lot going on here, and the Republicans need to be mindful of the real toll that it takes on us and bring Donald Trump a little bit back to reality.
Well, that reality is something that he tries to avoid as much as possible because as the political headlines noted yesterday that Donald Trump is pressuring the Hill on voter verification, the SAVE Act, but not his own housing plan. So going back to what you were saying
He's
about
trying to save his butt.
he's trying to save his butt act. I like that, Senator. I like that a
would have
lot.
said something else.
So talk about what that sounds like in the cloakroom, off the floor, when you're talking to Republicans who are sitting there looking at this pressure campaign to pass something that they know at the end of the day voters don't want, and two, does not advance the ball for them back in their districts or across their states.
I think they're in a panic because the war is unpopular. This is why Donald Trump's trying to blame everybody else, just like he always does. The minute it doesn't suit his needs, he throws somebody under the bus and blames them. The war is not popular. The prices are up. The SAVE Act, this is not a voter
So they just
idea.
want to take the vote.
They just want to take the vote. And plus, I know for your previous segment, this is a distraction from Epstein, too, because they figure the longer we're talking about this, the more he doesn't have to be held accountable.
Talk about that.
That's the absolute facts. I absolutely believe it. Nobody's crazy. We know what he's doing. Okay, we know what he's doing. Make it all make sense. Now let's go to this clip from JD when he was in Detroit, Michigan. And someone asked him about the midterms, because we already know they're going to try to hijack them.
From the Detroit News newspaper here. There's a lot of concern and talk in Michigan right now ahead of this pivotal midterm election that the federal government might somehow intervene in the administration of the election here in this state. Do you have any promises that you would make that the federal government will not intervene in any way in this election, or what would you tell people in Michigan who are concerned about that?
Well, what do you mean by the federal government intervening in the election? That's the first I've ever heard of it, but maybe I don't understand your question.
I believe the president has talked about nationalizing elections in recent months himself. It's state.
Well, if what you mean by intervening in the election is that we want everybody to have a voter ID before voting in this country, yes, we should be doing that, to be clear. I mean, if by what you mean is, Marco Rubio has like 5 jobs, is the president going to send Marco Rubio to Michigan to be a ballot counter as his 6th title? I don't think so. I haven't talked to the president or Marco about it. But look, there's a lot of scare tactics, and there's a lot of scary language floating around there. The president and I have been working very hard, and we actually got a good vote yesterday in the United States Senate on the Save America Act, which is a very simple piece of legislation that does a number of things. But one of the things it does is actually establish this very simple principle that if you're going to vote in a federal election, you ought to show identification before you do so. I think that's very much common sense.
Okay, sit down somewhere, JD Vance, and go buy you some more eyeliner. Why don't you? Okay. Now let's go to Hegseth, because they said he offered word salad. That's what MS Now said. This is from about 11 hours ago. They said he was spewing nothing but word salad. Well, that's what he was doing the last time we listened to one of his morning briefs. I told you all the same thing. I said it's nothing but word salad, saying a whole bunch of nothing. Okay, clearly trying to gaslight us.
Limited war with clearly defined objectives. It appears to be the exact opposite. There are no clearly defined objectives. And a $200 billion.
Hold on. Let me say this. I see some of you saying we always show ID. Yeah, we do. But here's the thing, honey. Now they're talking about having people bring passports or your birth certificates. Okay? Yeah. We don't always show those, do we? No. Yeah, I said eyeliner, just joy, beloved. He wears it. And mascara as well. Now, with that all being said, they said something about passports and birth certificates. Okay, to prove your citizenship, they say. But let's continue.
Request plus thousands more troops to the region does not scream limited war. In fact, when Hegseth was asked about when this war might end, well, here's what he said.
How close would you say we are towards achieving the president's objectives, and what is the end game of the operation without divulging any sensitive battle plans?
Well, we wouldn't want to set a definitive time frame on that, but as we've said, we're on plan. So we're looking at those metrics very closely, relaying that to the president and the national security team, but feel confident that as Again, we're more stand in means we're over the top, even further in, and we have even more of an exact sense of what we're striking and why, and even more dynamically. And it will be at the president's choosing, ultimately, where we say, hey, we've achieved what we need to on behalf of the American people.
I'm sorry. Now, I know that when poor Kamala, and I really regret it now, Kamala, I'm so sorry, beloved. Okay, I'm so sorry for going in on you. But listen, now here's the thing. I know that we picked at Kamala about word salad, but her word salad was nothing. It paled in so much comparison to this man. Okay? What is he even talking about? Just spewing words, okay? Does he think he sounds intellectual? Does he think that we look stupid? Okay, apparently so, but let's let him continue.
To ensure our security. So no time set on that, but we're very much on track.
That was a lot of words without offering any clear objectives or even a remote sense of a timeline. But trust me, according to Pete Hegseth, we're on track.
Okay, we're on track. And when we get done doing what we do and we'll tell you why we did it and how it was done. Sit down somewhere, okay? Nice M10K says, this administration is full of cosplaying fools. Yes, absolutely. And as far as I'm concerned, beloved, you actually could have kept the word cosplaying out and just called them fools. Because that's exactly what they are. They're cosplaying fools. They're nefarious fools. They're incompetent fools. They're stupid fools. They're just fools, period. That's facts. Now, thank you for that. And also for your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
And actually, he doesn't even know what that track looks like because only Trump can decide when it's over. So there's that. But pretty please, don't call it a quagmire. Definitely don't call it a quagmire.
Right.
Meanwhile, Trump himself continues to suggest that this whole thing is pretty much wrapped up anyway.
It's going to be over with pretty soon. We've obliterated their Navy. We've obliterated just about everything there is to obliterate, including leadership. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft equipment is gone. We're flying wherever we want, Pete. We have nobody even shooting at us.
If nobody is even shooting at you, why are our U.S. soldiers still there? If nobody is even shooting at you, why are they still there? And why were you just begging, groveling, down on bended knee, begging for help? Even invited Japan to the White House to do so. Made it all nefarious, don't you? This is all so crazy. Honey, I couldn't be this big of a fool if my nickname was Fool. But let's continue.
According to Trump, we're flying wherever we want. Nobody's even shooting at us. Well, you will not be shocked to learn that was likely another lie. Because just hours before Trump made those comments, CNN reported that a U.S. F-35 fighter jet was forced to make an emergency landing after being struck by what is believed to be Iranian fire. And that's according to two people familiar with the matter. But Trump says nobody's even shooting at us.
That's what he said. Now I want you to pay attention because you see, that is why it is talk like that, rhetoric like that, lies and propaganda spewed by him and some of the lamestream media. That's why Iran put out that video that I showed you all yesterday with that F-35, okay, getting shot. Okay. Lucky for them, the people made it off safely. Thank God for that. We don't want more soldiers dying because of Trump's stupidity, but nonetheless, he's sitting here just lying. Nobody's even shooting at us. Well, why the hell are you there? To make it all make sense.
Look, it's obvious that this war is not going the way that Trump and his administration wanted to. Every day we get more evidence and more tacit admissions that they are losing control. I mean, the oil situation alone is so out of control that Trump has already lifted sanctions on Russian oil, even as we get more and more reports that Russia is helping Iran target U.S. assets. And today, Trump's Treasury Secretary said they are even considering lifting sanctions on, wait for it, Iran. Ending sanctions on Iranian oil to keep prices, in their view, from skyrocketing further while we are at war with Iran.
Now, does that sound like the team that's winning? Does that sound like the team that's winning? You even want to lift sanctions on Iran? You sound pretty desperate to me. See, here's the thing. Trump obviously doesn't realize that you don't just get to go to war and then when you want to wipe your hands of it and turn around and go home, you say, hey, that's it. It's over. Let's go. It's not how it works, fool. But let's let him continue, or let's let her continue.
So to recap there, in just the past week, we've gone from no mercy for Iran to actually easing up on Iran in an attempt to clean up the mess Trump is making of the global economy. Things have gotten so bad that Republican loyalists in Congress are now actively trying to prevent administration officials from being questioned about the war in a public hearing. Here's how Senator Tim Kaine describes it.
In a classified hearing, Chris asked the Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Jim Risch the following: when are we going to have a public hearing about this war? When? And Senator Risch said the following: I have decided that we will not have public hearings because I do not believe the administration's decision makers should be subject to public questioning by senators.
That's exactly what any administration waging any kind of war overseas should be subject to: answering questions in front of the public to the Senate. But the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee does not want Trump's advisors to be questioned about this war. They are afraid of scrutiny, and they have good reason to be.
Oh, so nefarious. Okay, please pay attention. Now let's go to this report about the energy and the prices skyrocketing as we sit back and struggle.
President J.D. Vance has been speaking to voters in Michigan over the past hour. And as he talks to them, he's doing some expectation setting about how long the war in Iran will last and what that means for them in terms of gas prices. Here's what he said.
We're going to take care of business. We're going to come back home. And when that happens, you're going to see energy prices come back down to reality. But in the meantime, we got a problem. We know that we have a problem. We're doing everything that we can to address it.
So the vice president there very much suggesting this is a temporary military engagement with Iran. It's going to end soon, he says. But in the meantime, he says the administration knows it has a problem. A couple of other things that the vice president said there. One is he says that a couple of announcements are coming from the administration in the next 24 to 48 hours in terms of ideas to lower gas prices. And then he talks about the overall time frame and expectations. He says we've got a rough road ahead of us for the next few weeks, but it's temporary. So an expectation setting from the vice president that this war will last at least for the next few weeks, but calling that temporary and saying that oil prices and gas prices for consumers and the voters he's speaking to will come down after that.
It's not going to come down right away, folks, okay? It's not. And here's the thing. I was doing some looking last night, and what I found was, now, if you remember, I told you all maybe 2 weeks ago, I did a TikTok about it, where I was telling you all how not only does the oil come through the Strait of Hormuz, but also the liquefied natural gas, okay? Now, we already know about the gas field getting blown up, okay, the other day. The North gas field. And then Trump said, oh, we're going to blow up the South, as if that was going to make things better, right? But here's the thing. So according to my calculations, the U.S. has been spending at least $2 billion per day on this war. So that's about roughly $30 billion, which brings me back to yesterday when I reported that now they're begging for more funding and they want $200 billion, okay? And we're not even a whole month in. I find it interesting, but also upon further review, I found that the fertilizer, because remember I told you they also supply aluminum fertilizer. Well, the fertilizer has reached $680 per metric ton in New Orleans. Okay. Whereas 2 weeks ago, it was at $475. Okay, so that means it's like a 43% hike. And within just 2 weeks. Okay, within just 2 weeks, if my math is correct, and I think that it is. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you all. Please make sure you're stocking up on your non-perishable food items because Trump's acting like this and heck's breath is acting like this is all going to go away real soon. It's not. It is not. The prices will continue to soar. And even when they finally do pull out, whenever that is, who knows? This could be a whole forever war. I hope it isn't. But I will tell you that Iran is here for the long haul. They are here for the long haul. So with that being said, things are going to get worse. And I'm going to tell you right now that because they supply about a third of the world's fertilizer, I think it's about a third. Let me just double check. I don't want to give you all the wrong info. Hold on, beloveds. Yeah, it's about 1/3. So I'm right. So that's about 33%. Okay. So that's about 33%. So guess what? With that all being said, we can expect to start having issues with food supplies in the next maybe 3 to 6 months. Okay? That's what I'm going to tell you all for now. It could change, but I pretty much think that's about what it's going to be. Okay? Food shortages in about 3 to 6 months. Now, let's continue. We're going to go to this report from Bernie Sanders. He says they're losing ground and that Trump's in a panic as the Iran war has started to spiral. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, before I start this, hold on, let me read this comment from Bianca. Says, Christ consciousness is the universal light or divine consciousness within every person rather than solely a historical figure. It is the awakening of this internal, loving, and enlightened presence. Okay, now, for those of you who follow the spiritual channel, you know that I did a very thorough broadcast about the Christ consciousness. Now, if you all want me to repost that, let me know. Y'all told me to repost something the other day. I can't even remember what it was. Sorry, I clearly forgot. Okay, I clearly forgot. All right. And also, let me just say this. You know, since we're in the spring equinox, you all should be absolutely manifesting. Okay, because literally the first day of spring was this morning at 10:46. Okay. So with that all being said, everybody should use this time to be manifesting. And please manifest for this war to be over and for Trump to lose and go to prison. Okay. And Bibi too. All right. So let's continue.
Senator Bernie Sanders, who serves on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and just today filed 3 joint resolutions of disapproval to force an end to the war in Iran. I want to start on the Veterans Affairs Committee that you served on. And I know you've been incredibly active in veterans issues throughout the duration of your career. And one of the things that I think anyone who's worked with veterans and around veterans knows is the sort of the gravity, the solemnity, the stakes of war, of what it means to send people to war, what it means to be shooting at people and possibly causing their death, and what that can mean to the people that do it. And I just wonder your reaction to see the glibness, the weird casualness, the strangeness of the way this president seems to undertake this entire enterprise.
Look, we are living, as I think most people know, with a president who is a pathological liar. He is an authoritarian. What concerns him most is wealth and power. I think he has very little empathy for his fellow human beings. And you're quite right. It is extremely dangerous that a man like that is president of the United States. And Chris, what we have got to do, is figure out why that happened and how we build a political movement of working people that ends Trumpism once and for all, starting in 2026.
You, as I mentioned, there were 3 resolutions introduced today to try to force votes that would restrain the war, both in terms of the U.S. war in Iran, arms sales to Israel as well. What are those resolutions, and is there any hope of success as were the war to drag on?
Is there hope of success? I would like to think so. I wouldn't bet the farm on it. You got a lot of people here in Congress who are under the thumb of AIPAC and other special interests. The bottom line is that to give another 20,000 bombs to a country which committed genocide in Gaza happens to be, among many other things, forget the moral issue, happens to be in violation of American law. You don't sell arms, according to American law, to countries that violate international law and human rights. Clearly, Israel has done that. Israel talked Netanyahu, who for 40 years has wanted a war with Iran, finally got a president to go along with him, started this war. And it's not only the horror that's taking place in Iran right now, something like 15%, a million people in Lebanon have been displaced. Israel is moving aggressively in the West Bank, killing people, displacing people, making the idea of a two-state solution virtually impossible. Why anybody in their right minds would want to continue funding Israel is beyond me.
And let me just remind you all that Bernie Sanders is one of those people. Okay, he's Jewish. And he's saying this. So please pay attention.
It's not just, of course, funding Israel, which is a partner in this war. And I should note the International Court of Justice has allowed for that international law case of accusing them of genocide to go forward, though there has not been a determination on that. But there's also, of course, the U.S. spending. The word today that it's going to be a $200 billion war supplemental request coming from the White House to the Senate. I got to say, and maybe I'm a cockeyed optimist, I think that's going to be a tough vote for them to win, but maybe I'm crazy.
Look, this is, Chris, on top of a $1 trillion appropriation. They want another $200 billion. You got people all over this country, 20% of households spending 50% of their income on housing. People can't afford health care. People can't afford child care. And this guy, in addition to giving tax breaks to billionaires, now wants to spend another $200 billion on a war that should never have been fought. So I think, clearly, I think the Trump people are in a bit of panic. They're losing ground. Gas prices are soaring. There is massive discontent against this war. It's got to end, and we've got to make sure that Trump is neutered in 2026.
There was some news today. I've been watching you. You've been spending more and more time talking about AI and talking about what it might do to the American economy. There was news today that caught my eye, and I think it caught yours as well, which is Jeff Bezos, who's one of the richest men in the world. He's worth $234 billion, is planning both to kind of use robots to replace, maybe hundreds of thousands of Amazon workers. But he's also now going to raise a fund that is going to be investing in the automation and replacement of manufacturing workers in all sorts of industries everywhere.
Now, let's talk about this for a second. Now, Nice MTK says Bernie Sanders should have been president, period. Well, he definitely would have been better than Trump. And someone said he doesn't support us getting reparations. Yeah, I know that I have spoken on that. That's what ticked me off about Bernie. But here's the thing, because Bernie's people got reparations. Okay, so why shouldn't we? He said it was divisive. Here's the thing, and it would be divisive, and that's only because people are haters and don't want Black people to have anything. We all know that. But the bottom line is none of these presidents have supported us getting reparations. Okay, even the Black one, Barack Obama. Okay, so none of them supported us getting reparations. Quite frankly, none of these people want us to get reparations. That's just what it is. Now, with that all being said, but somebody has to be the president regardless. And I darn sure wish it wasn't Trump. Now, here's the thing. Jeff Bezos, worth $234 billion, plans to replace 600,000 Amazon workers with robots. Now, I want you all to think about how this is going to tank economy for some people. Now he wants to spend $100 billion to fully automate not just his warehouses, but factories in the U.S. and other countries. Oligarchs are waging all-out war against workers. Fight back. Yeah, people should fight back. And let me just tell you all something else you probably didn't know. So I was researching one day because I started noticing that certain places, it looked to me, like the water was drying up. Okay? Hold on. Likes up. Everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. So, and as I looked into it, this was about a week ago, I found that some of the U.S. lakes are dying. The Colorado River is drying up. America's groundwater is disappearing. So I start thinking, why is this going on? What's happening here? And that's because AI uses a significant amount of water, a whole lot of water. And I want you all to pay attention. Now, some primarily to cool data centers, okay? But with estimates suggesting a short conversion with an AI bot, around 20 to 50 queries can consume a 500 milliliter a bottle of water. A single large data center can consume 1 to 5 million gallons of water daily. Okay, equivalent to the usage of 10,000 to 50,000 people. Okay, so I want y'all to think about that. Okay, I want y'all to think about that while they're sitting here trying to tell us this stuff about global warming and climate change and all of that. Okay, they're not going to tell you about the nefarious things they're doing.
This seems like, I don't know, maybe not a great idea given the way that what we've seen happening to America's manufacturing core. But I guess I'd say it's a private decision in a private market. What can you do?
Well, there's a lot that we can do. I mean, for a start, we may be wanting to be talking about a tax on robots. But for a start, what we are seeing now is a handful of the wealthiest people in the world, Bezos being one, Musk, Zuckerberg, Ellison, pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into the development and implementation of AI and robotics. And what is the goal? The goal, obviously, is to make money for corporations and themselves and to replace human labor. And now Bezos is upfront about it. Hey, we can automate, put robots in manufacturing plants all over America, throw workers out on the street. We can make these companies have more and more money and more profits. The only thing that maybe Bezos hasn't considered is if you create mass unemployment, if people are not earning any money, how the hell are they going to buy anything? What happens to the economy? And I think there is more and more concern about the impact of AI and robotics being pushed again by people who have endless amounts of greed. That's all these guys want, more wealth and more power for themselves. But Bezos has been blatant. We're going to throw workers out on the street, and we're going to make more money for manufacturing companies.
I mean, you know, send gas to $5 a gallon and take away everyone's jobs through automation. And I mean, good luck. I don't know what exactly people think the game plan is here. Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And, you know, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Elon Musk himself mention that AI is a threat to humanity? Didn't he say that? Didn't he say that? Or where did I get that from? Hold on. Yes, he did say it. He's repeatedly said it. In fact, Elon Musk has repeatedly stated that AI is a fundamental threat to humanity, labeling it as an existential risk and summoning the demon. That's what it says. He has warned that AI is more dangerous than the nuclear weapons and could create a future where no human jobs are needed, calling for proactive government regulation. Since 2014, at least, Musk has argued that advanced AI poses a risk to civilization's existence, not just individual safety. Okay? But he still loves AI. Please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, we have 2 more clips. We're going to go to this clip of this MAGA who voted for Trump. And when she's questioned about it, she says, well, you know, apparently I'm an idiot. Well, I couldn't agree more. I'm not going to dispute her on it. In fact, I wish the other MAGA minions would wake up and realize the same thing. Let's get into it.
been in 7 years, gasoline prices and oil prices, not just the 3 states that I talk about with $1.99 a gallon. How would you like to have $1.99? You know, that's the equivalent of a very major tax cut.
Welcome back. Now, that was President Trump in Pennsylvania back in December, touting low energy and gas prices. Today, the average price for a gallon of gas in Pennsylvania is $3.76, according to AAA. That's higher than last week, and it's up more than 60 cents from a month ago. NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen has been speaking with Pennsylvania voters. He's been out kind of on a road trip here in Millersburg, about 25 miles north of Harrisburg. He joins me now. And John, I understand you're sort of in a Trump supportive part of Pennsylvania, and there are a lot of those in Pennsylvania. What are you hearing about how people there are feeling about gas prices, and are they factoring that into how they view the war in Iran?
Well, first, Kelly, I would be remiss if I did not wish Kelly O'Donnell a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Right back at you, my friend.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm genetically required to be in green.
Pennsylvania. And,
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
right
John.
now,
Go ahead.
I'm
You're
sure
on the
you
road
look
trip
lovely
here.
and green. Okay, so I'm in Millersburg, Pennsylvania. The reason I'm here is it's a swing district, Pennsylvania's 10th district in a swing state. President Trump won this district by about 5 points, but the local congressman, Scott Perry, is in danger of losing in the midterms. And we wanted to talk to people about their feelings about gas prices, about the war. You mentioned Pennsylvania's average gas price, about $3.76 a gallon right now. We went to like the cheapest place around, $3.54.9 a gallon here, and talk to folks. Better you hear from them than from me about how they're feeling.
Let's roll the tape.
The decision to strike Iran.
It was a great decision. I think somebody else should have done it a couple of years ago, the last 3 other presidents.
Are you willing to pay higher prices at the pump if that's the cost?
Yeah, I'm willing to pay a little more, yeah.
What do you think about the war?
I think he's doing the right thing. You know, in the long run, it's going to help us out because if they get nuclear weapons, we might not even be here in a couple of years.
These people are so darn stupid, okay? These people don't even have nuclear weapons. And at the end of the day, like I keep telling you all, they were against it, okay? But now they should be for it, okay? Because it looks like other people can have it, so why can't they? All right, I don't know why they don't think Bibi's a threat. And Bibi doesn't even want to disclose what's going on with their nuclear weapons and capabilities. But please pay attention. And also, let me just say that it's so obvious and apparent that Trump's people, his minions, are so stupid. They do not study, read, or research. It's obvious. There was a video. I'm going to see if I can find it to show to you all. But there was a video where a guy got mad with his friend because he didn't agree with Trump. And he told him to walk home after they had ridden together. So it's just all crazy. But anyway, let's continue.
I think he's doing a good job.
Is it worth the rise in the price of gas?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about the U.S. decision to go into Iran?
I think we got to do what we got to do to keep this country safe. So, and if it means paying a little bit more in gas right now to keep everybody safe, then that's what we got to do. And eventually they'll come back down.
And Kelly, most of the people we talked to were supportive of the war and willing to pay the higher gas prices for the war. Some of them because they believe in the goals of the war, others because they trust President Trump. But not everybody felt that way, and not everybody's excited about Trump here, and not everybody's planning to vote for Republicans in the midterms who supported Trump. Let's take a listen to one more woman who we spoke with. If you could say something to President Trump and he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You're a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
So not
Well, lots of
everyone is thrilled with
personality there,
President Trump,
John.
as you
Lots
heard,
of
Kelly.
personality. Yes.
Right? Not everyone's thrilled with him. That was a voter who voted for him 3 times. She went on to talk about the gas prices. She went on to talk about the war, about not supporting the idea of us in, basically going around the world. So a lot to process there. But this is going to be the real pressure test for President Trump and Republicans in the midterms is how many of the people who voted for him are A, sticking with Republicans, and B, going to show up in the midterms. And I think that's still an open question here, just several months out from those midterms, Kelly.
Nothing is as valuable as actually going to where the people are and asking them what they think. So thank you for making the road trip. Fill up before you come back.
Not fill up before you come back. Okay, now we've got to get into this last clip with Professor Mohammed Marandi going in. And I absolutely loved every bit of it. Please pay attention.
Iran has been launching drones and missiles at U.S. air defense radar systems across the Middle East, trying to blind its ability to detect attacks. And thanks to satellite images and verified videos, we know they've been having some success. ABC News analysis suggests at least 10 U.S. radar sites have been struck since the start of the war.
Let me just say to Ocean Soul, thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel and your insight into the topic. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Said, wow, strong delusion. Yes, his followers have absolutely drank the Kool-Aid. And the sad thing is, they not only drink the Kool-Aid, but they're the fools that paid for it. Okay.
And at least some have suffered damage. This video shows an Iranian drone slamming into a radar dome at the US's Manama base in Bahrain. In this satellite image, you can see the two white radar domes, and in the next, both gone. Another satellite image of a US base in Saudi Arabia shows a plume of smoke rising from a building known to have recently housed an AN/TPY-2 radar system. That system is estimated to have cost $500 million. Here in Qatar, open source researchers have identified damage to another billion-dollar radar system. This image shows an AN/FPS-132 phased array radar. Researchers say there are signs of debris from its northeastern face and water runoff suggesting firefighting efforts.
It is incredibly expensive, really, really delicate, and unbelievably vulnerable. We never thought it would be under attack from weird multi-vector swarm threats and things like that.
The damage doesn't mean that the US's radar system is no longer functioning. Most missiles and drones are still being intercepted. But Iran's ability to hit some of the US's rarest and extremely expensive radar systems with relatively cheap drones and missiles is seen as surprising, and a sign perhaps of how Iran's response may have been fiercer than the US expected.
Have to be involved, engaged in a diplomatic solution, in a de-escalation of this war in Iran and in the whole Middle East. I do believe that this war is interconnected with the rest of the wars that we have witnessed over the last years when it comes to Gaza, also West Bank, and of course what is happening in the Lebanon. And that is why I think it's very important to stand for these principles, to be engaged, and to be united. And I'm looking forward for this unity in the Council, because I think it's very important. This is a very defining moment for the European Union, and I think that we need to send a clear message to our citizens and the rest of the world that Europe is with multilateralism and is with international law, and we are against this war. We are illegal, there's no reason behind it, and it's causing a lot of damage. Civilians, of course, refugees, and the economic consequences that the whole world, especially the global south, is already suffering.
Trump's operation to dismantle and de-weaponize the Iranian regime, and we have been efforting an interview with anyone from that regime. We reached out to the Iranian Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi. We were told essentially that they wanted to vet us first with an interview with another regime loyalist.
Now, mind you, after this interview, I guarantee you that he really preferred that he'd gotten to speak to the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, because Marandi went in on him even worse.
Syed Mohammed Marandi is a University of Tehran professor. His father, Ali Reza Marandi, is the former Minister of Health in Iran and senior advisor to the former Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was blown up along with many other top regime members on the first day of this joint operation. Professor Marandi served as a media advisor to the Iranian regime's nuclear negotiating team. He lives in Tehran and is a de facto spokesman for the regime and joins us now. And, sir, thank you. I want to start with, after 2.5 weeks, the Trump administration says that the Iranian regime has been effectively decimated, in his opinion. Want to get your reaction to that?
Well, I'm not a spokesman for the administration, but obviously the Trump regime is putting out propaganda, and we are seeing Iranian missiles and drones being fired in retaliation for this illegal assault on Iranian sovereignty. And as Joe Kent pointed out, this war was carried out based on a lie. There was no threat from Iran. And of course, it was carried out because of pressure from the Israeli lobby and the Israeli regime itself. So it is not legitimate, and that is why Iran feels that it has to defend itself, and it is doing so quite effectively.
But between Iran and the proxies that you guys prop up throughout the Middle East, you have attacked a number of U.S. interests, including our men and women in service. You've killed Americans. You killed more than 40 Americans. Hamas killed more than 40 on October 7th that launched the war in Gaza. To say that Iran is not a threat to the United States, I don't buy that. Why do you make that claim?
Well, I don't think it's necessary for you to buy it. These are the facts. The United States occupied Afghanistan.
What about everything I just said?
It wasn't. Well, I'm responding.
Okay.
The United States occupied Afghanistan for 20 years. The United States illegally occupied Iraq. So when the Iraqi people resist, you cannot blame the United States. When the people of Afghanistan resist occupation, you cannot blame the Iranians. You have to blame the United States, whether in Iraq or in Afghanistan. That's the problem of the regime in Washington, not Iran's problem. If Iran entered U.S. territory and occupied it, you'd have the legitimate right to defend yourself. And so do the people of Iraq and Afghanistan. You can't blame a third party for the resistance of people against occupation.
You don't deny that your regime props up international terrorism through multiple different facets, do you?
Your regime does that. ISIS was created by Al-Qaeda, was created by your regime. Al-Qaeda, the head of Al-Qaeda,
Hezbollah.
The Al-Qaeda head went to the White House. That's the same organization that you tell us carried out 9/11. So how are we supposed to figure out who's a terrorist in this world?
Now, I want you all to pay attention to that, because I've mentioned that to you all before. How he had Al-Qaeda. Remember I told you all, I said Trump has terrorists in the White House? And yes, these are the same people that they say perpetuated 9/11. So please make it make sense.
I want to ask you this. Protests in your country are expected to ramp up as we head into the Persian New Year, which is this weekend. Do you believe, and I know you don't represent the regime directly, but do you think that the regime is going to murder thousands more innocent people in the streets of Tehran in your country?
The only regime that is murdering thousands of people is your regime. You're bombing our people. You're slaughtering kids. And then your regime...
We have videos of your forces killing innocent people in the streets. There's bodies everywhere. We have video of that. That's undeniable.
No, you...
Hold on. Let me just say to we the people... Let me just say to we the people, a nice M10K, please stop the back and forth in the chat, or you'll both be timed out. Okay, because you're causing a distraction. I think maybe the moderator has said something to you. Okay, so please cut it out. Nobody is MAGA in here, and people are allowed to have a disagreement or a difference of opinion. Okay, nobody's opinion is any better than anyone else's. Let's continue.
No, your regime bombed an elementary school, murdered 168 little girls, and your regime tried to pin the blame on Iran. And your fake news about Iran killing tens of thousands of protesters has the same amount of accuracy and legitimacy and honesty as your presidents, the head of your regimes, claimed that Iran fired missiles at the school.
You're saying that your forces inside the country didn't kill thousands of people that tried to stand up to the regime, as they have done so many times in the past. You're saying that's a complete fabrication.
That is your regime propaganda. Absolutely.
Now, see, the reason he is spewing this nonsense, the reporter, is because he's listening to everything that Trump says, like an idiot. Okay, he's like, your regime didn't kill tens of thousands. No, that's not true. Only person you heard saying that was Trump. Did you hear anybody else saying that stuff? Did you all not see how the people were out there rallying and having a good time? When they were having a pro-Palestinian protest or rally. And then do you all not remember, with missiles flying overhead, no less, and someone actually lost their life. But don't you all remember how they were all out there, grieving over the supreme leader who lost his life? But Trump would have you think that was AI, because that's what he said. Remember, he said, oh, that's AI. When he was lying on Air Force One, still trying to act as though these people didn't care for that man. And then when a reporter brought that up to him, how they were out there grieving, he said, oh, that's probably AI. The same thing he said when they showed him the footage of him calling Governor Gavin Newsom the president, but at the same time calling Governor Gavin Newsom stupid, basically. Please pay attention.
300 officers of the law, 200 policemen, and 100 others were murdered by the terrorists that were armed by your regime. Go and look at channel 14 of Israeli TV, which is close to Netanyahu. They said that the arms were brought in by a foreign intelligence agency, meaning the U.S. and the Israelis, that killed hundreds of police officers. One woman in your country was turning to the right and you shot her in the face. And you say that's legitimate. But in Iran, they killed hundreds of police officers. And you want to pin the blame on the police? 3,117 people were killed. All of them have the ID. They've all been identified and named. And agents from abroad armed people who are responsible for these deaths. You cannot blame Iran for something that your regime carried out.
We know. Now everybody knows that you don't believe any of the things that you're saying. I mean, it's obvious there. Is it hard to continue propagandizing for this regime? I know you don't care what I think. I mean, I understand.
Please pay attention to how he says everybody knows you don't really believe a thing that you're saying. That's what an idiot does when they're losing a debate, when their point has been debunked and someone is hitting them with facts after facts after facts that they know darn well they can't debunk or dispute. So they start saying, oh, you don't believe what you're saying. Everybody knows that's not true. Well, nobody knows it isn't true, because in fact it is true. Okay, let's continue. He sounds really ridiculous.
Understand that, but it's like saying the sky is red. The sky is not red.
Well, that's exactly what you do, because you are a part of that MAGA cult. It's a cult for you. Joe Kent, he's not
your hero.
I didn't put him in power.
Yeah.
Joe Kent, I didn't put him in power. No. Your president did. He is saying exactly what I just told you. So if I don't believe what I say, then obviously he doesn't believe what he says.
He said a very, very small fraction of what you just claimed, which is quite a bit of things. Let me ask you this:
You just told me that I don't believe. You just told me I don't believe a word of what I said.
I know you don't.
That is part of what I said. So you're contradicting yourself now.
Well, no, I just know. I know BS, and I know propaganda. I know what it looks like. I know your country is professional at that. You guys are pros.
I'm sure you know BS, because that's your job.
Well, you've blacked out the internet in your country. You don't allow media to report on anything, and you're going to sit here and tell me that you're
assassinating people using the internet. You use the internet to assassinate people. So we have the internet for people inside Iran, for Iranian apps, Iranian websites. But since your government, your regime, which is working with the Israeli regime to kill Iranian people, What percentage of the people in your country support the regime at this point, your estimation? The overwhelming majority on the streets every night. They're on the streets and demanding that the armed forces retaliate. Your propaganda, your regime propaganda, is deceiving a segment of American society. But the reality is getting through to the international community. People across the world are seeing what your regime is doing to my people, the murder that your regime is carrying out, and history will remember the role that each person played. Everything that I said is true, but everything that you say is Trump regime propaganda.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I just want to get to one more thing before I let you go. Iran's new supreme leader is the son of the former Ayatollah. His father did not want this young man to lead your country. That is undeniable. Our intelligence agencies claim that's likely because the young man is gay. Your response to that? Because that would be a big problem in your country, right, if you had a gay Ayatollah.
Yes. You know, your use is so fake that it doesn't even deserve a reply. You have no idea what his opinion was on his leadership. You're just making it up. And his.
Well, why did the father not want
someone to be? He never said such a thing. Show me the tape. Show me the evidence.
Who has tape of that?
You're just making stuff up. That's how you work. That is how you justify killing kids, by making fake news.
Well, I'll leave it there. I knew it was going to be an interesting conversation. We appreciate you coming on. Are you in a bomb shelter? Where do you live right now? Like, how do you stay safe?
I live in Tehran, and I'm at the studio right now.
You're at a studio. Okay. All right.
No, why the hell did he feel the need to know where that man lived? Okay, asking him, I would have said on Earth. Okay, please. And he made such a fool of himself. You can tell he's scared to death of Trump. Trump has a lot of these these lamestream media reporters are so scared. Okay, because either he'll sue them, he'll get them fired or whatever. Okay, or even arrested like he did Don Lemon. Okay, please pay attention. Now, that was absolutely interesting. I love the way he handled himself and how he just beat him and badgered him with facts. That's what he did, okay? Not propaganda. The only propaganda being spewed was coming from him with his stupid self. And anyone with half a brain would already know that that's all that it was. Because common sense would tell anybody who had common sense that. How is Trump winning the war? Nobody's even striking or firing back at the U.S. soldiers, but nonetheless, he was begging for help. Okay? Where did you ask for help? Why aren't the troops even still there? So it's obvious he's lying. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, listen, I'm out of here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Nice MTNK says, that's true, Queen. Opinions are like a-holes. Everyone has one, and many people are one. Also, facts don't care about our feelings. Okay, I know you were clearly throwing a jab, okay, and we the people, okay, you're slick. Okay, so you think, beloved. But anyway, thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so yes, that's what I don't like. I don't like people bickering back and forth in my chat. Okay, we're like a family over here. We can all respectfully, as adults, agree to disagree. Okay, you all don't even agree with me all the time. Do you think I get mad about it? I don't even care. Okay, I don't even care because my opinions are my own and so are yours. Okay, so let's all just, act like adults and not like little children going back and forth. Okay, now with that all being said, I'm out of here. Each one teach one. Listen, don't forget, I'm going to come back later, okay? I'm going to come back later. It's probably going to be about 9 o'clock, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, I'm not worried about getting up early in the morning because it's the weekend, right? Or the strong end. So with that all being said, I will be back. We're going to talk about the Epstein files, that other island that I told you all about, and a few other things, okay? So you don't want to miss it. With that all being said, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Sold all in my skin. God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got